Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Void podcast. I'm Enrique, my co-host Vince, and today we're about to bring you the best in entrepreneurship and leadership, but Vince will introduce.
Yes, absolutely. We have Erica Beal, founder and CEO of AVIVV from San Diego, California. Welcome, Erica, to the show. Please start off and tell us about you.
Well, thank you so much for having me represent this fabulous community of ours, the military community. Very nice introduction and nice to meet you both, Enrique and Vince. Erica Beal here. I am the CEO and founder of a company called AVIVV. AVIVV is a Hebrew word and it means growth. We are very intentional about everything in our company, so much so as the name, to make sure that we created a company with a foundation on servant leadership. It's very focused around our people. And if you don't know about servant leadership, it's something that I hold very dear to my heart. If you think about the triangle upside down, where the leaders and the CEO are at the bottom and the employees and the frontline workers are at the top. And that's what we're seeking to do and help. We're in the utility industry and energy. That's where I started my career. I've been in that industry for about 19 years. I'm happily married to still an active duty Navy SEAL, very decorated. He's a Silver Star recipient. We've experienced about 9 deployments, 8 of those combat. And I just have a very dear heart to help our community, particularly the military spouses. And that's kind of the origin and the purpose of this company, AVIVV, to help those transitioning veterans and military spouses find careers in the utility sector.
Outstanding. And as a Navy man myself, knowing full well what that trident you have on your chain means, thank your husband and thank you and your family for all that you guys put on the line on a daily, because that particular piece of our force is so near and dear to our hearts. Now, tell us a little bit more about AVIVV.
Well, AVIVV is a professional engineering and construction services company. So what we don't do the core engineering stamping and we do not do the core construction, but we are definitely a support to them and a very nice complementary partner. So as they're out there preparing a construction infrastructure project, we will go out there and do the inspection. A lot of our employees are ex-linemen or lineman women. We had the first line woman on our company as well. And it's a very serious and critical role to ensure that the projects are being delivered on time. We provide project management services as well. We ensure that a lot of our project managers do have their PMP certifications and have experience with the scheduling of these projects, and also safety. In our industry, safety is paramount. Our company is in ISN. I don't like to brag about this because safety is the most important thing, but currently we have an A+ rating, and that starts at the top. Every single employee is OSHA certified. I myself am OSHA 30, and it's something that in our industry, you have to start with safety. And normally in a meeting like this, we would start with a safety message. So Vince, Enrique, I'm going to share one unless you have one that you'd like to talk about. But I always say, right now we're going back into our cars. We're driving a lot. And in the event when you're pulling into parking lots, it's always best to drive through. But when you do have to reverse, I would ask everybody here to be mindful and conscientious and think about when you do reverse 1 mile, because it is so sensitive. And if you're going 1 mile, if you do hit something, it's going to make a very minor impact and it's still recoverable. And that way you're very conscientious when you're looking at the right shoulder and you're looking at the left shoulder. But safety is everything in our industry. That is the most important thing of our business model. It defines who we are. And we have a safety manager that reports directly to me as a CEO. And that is very much our industry and our support and what we're doing.
Well, thank you for the safety message. We all need to be reminded of backing up and going through a parking lot. So thank you, Erica, for that. You mentioned your employees being out there on the front line. So how did the pandemic affect or influence your company?
For us, we actually started our business a year before the pandemic. Like I said, I came from the utility sector, working 16 years for the Sempra Energy family, very large utility industry in the US, particularly in San Diego Gas and Electric and Southern California Gas Company. I worked about 16 different jobs, from procurement to auditing to finance. I was a project manager. And then my heart, I ended up in supplier diversity. So when I transitioned into a business owner, I knew that there was a lot of gaps where a lot of times business units don't talk to each other. So we wanted to create a business that not only had one particular job where it was a project manager, but something that could be transferred to many different other levels and that expertise. So the vision was very good. And then the pandemic hit, right? We got our first contract. We were out there, we were performing inspection on construction jobs, and we had to pivot very quickly. I will say that in our industry, the utility and energy, it's essential work. It is essential business. Reliability is everything in our industry. When you turn those lights switch on, you need to make sure that those lights come on, right? So ironically, we grew in a positive way. And how we grew was quite interesting, because you can grow in business, but you need to make sure you keep the same culture. And like I said, building that culture is everything in business. You can deliver and execute on projects, but if you don't have the right culture and they also believe in where you're going as a business, that's going to be a disconnect. And for us, what we made sure we did was we had meetings. We followed all protocols. We implemented COVID essential needs with the mask. And on sites, we always had the 6-foot distance, but we were out there in the front line, still on the field with the distance, overseeing projects, ensuring that the projects are being met, and having very strong communications, 3-way communications. That means when we discussed a standard or procedure, we communicated not just through email and not just through signing a document, but let us hear you communicate it back to us, and then asking questions. That kind of information not only embeds it in the culture, but it ensures that you understand it and then you can communicate it out there to the other frontline workers. So like I said, it has been an interesting ride, a growth for us, but also a pivoting to making sure your communication and your standards and compliance are very tightened up.
Well, we're so happy to hear that these are one of the stories that the pandemic did the reverse, right? Offered opportunities of growth, and so we're happy to hear that. Now, in growth, there's always something more, right? There's always a further vision. So, what's on the horizon for AVIVV?
I'll tell you a couple of things. The energy industry is a very dynamic time in our particular era right now. You have an aging infrastructure, and what we're about to go through with the renewable goals, with sustainability, there's so much opportunity for new jobs and creation. And it has been not what I call social responsibility, because yes, we have to do something to make sure we're impacting the communities we serve. But in addition to that, we need to prepare training, and we need to educate about this industry and tell them about the wonderful job opportunities that are available. And all types of work are needed. Here's where we're going, Enrique and Vince. There's going to be a shortage of people to take out these projects. And we have put so much emphasis in, you need to have technology in the background. But guess what? We still need the trades. And we still need those expertise that just want to understand standards. Maybe you don't have a degree. That's okay. There is a big need and job for you. What we just rolled out, and we're rolling out this month, I'm happy to say, is there is a lot of work for the design and the drafting. So before you even get to construction and you're changing out those overhead lines that you see and you're taking them underground, You need to have somebody that's going to plot out that design, review that work with permitting, and we're going to train individuals on that. What we've done is we've created a program called Impact Now. Impact Now is very focused to helping the transitioning veterans and military spouses get trained in this industry through apprenticeships, through working with hiring our heroes, Skill Bridge, right? And giving them that apprenticeship so that in 6 weeks, 3 months, or in 6 months, depending how much time we get, they have the professional certifications. They understand the terminology in this language. And guess what? Now they've got a career. That's where we're going. And we have got to have more partners understand this void and create jobs and do training. And I'm just so excited about that because in these days, you need 2 incomes and we need training, right? And we're happy to do that and give these careers.
Definitely a force to be reckoned with. Impact Now, bridging the gap for those in the military community. Kudos to you and your company. Now let's transition and talk about a different growth, our leadership growth as an individual. So you, Erica, what do you do in your spare time to make you thrive in your professional life?
Well, I have to say, first and foremost, I'm a mother and I'm a happy mom of 2 young boys that are very spontaneous and very active. And they're the ones that inspire me. Ironically, it was then when I said, hey, we're going to do this business, I brought them into the fold. I mean, this is a family initiative, right? Business is family. You do business and it's a legacy you're creating. And my youngest at the time was 5 years old, and we were talking crayons, we were looking through books, and the word AVIVV came along. And I said, you know what? That's a great name. We added an extra V and to find out that it meant growth and back to being a purpose-driven company. I have to give credit to my son. So, hey, if anybody wants to take the business, they get a royalty, right? But truthfully, I would say we're very active. I myself believe in mental and physical and embedding that in the culture and yourself. I'm a very active. I'm a Pilates enthusiastic, is what they say, right? You've got to do something to make sure you keep that energy and momentum going. My son has gotten very involved in kayaking, summer sport that turned out to be something very worth fulfilling. And at times, I do work out with my husband, but it's better that we separate because he's a little too intense for me. But we do those kind of things. And we're having a lot of fun just with the activities and being involved with their academics and their pursuits of what they enjoy as well.
Well, business indeed is a family thing. You'll need that type of support when you're in business. And congratulations to you as we celebrate Women's History Month, heading this on and inspiring so much. And talking about inspiration, right? There must have been somebody, some leader that along your way and your trajectory as you was growing up as a leader that impacted you. And you said, you know what, I'm going to hold on to that they just told me, and it has worked out for you, that maybe you would like to share with folks today.
I agree, Enrique. It hasn't been just one. It is Women's History Month. I'm very proud to say that I'm a woman and a military spouse and a Latina in this industry. My mother was my first role model. She comes from a family of 13, and she was the first in her family to get a business degree. And she did it in her 40s. There is no age that tells you that you don't need to stop or start when to do this. Seeing her grow up and starting as an admin and ending up managing national accounts was very inspiring. And I'd like to change the narrative here personally. People talk about, particularly in women, and I'm a big women empowerment, but we don't get there alone. I want to tell you that my partners and some of the biggest advocates and the strength behind AVIVV are men. And it's not ironic. It's intentional. They have a heart to help this community. They have a heart to help us grow. I do have a partner with Jingoli Power. Carl Miller has been a very strong mentor and advocate to me. Tough love. He's an engineer, but we need that, and we need the truth. The truth does not hurt. The truth helps you grow. And when you're able to bridge the gap between men and women and say, what's the ultimate goal? Wonderful things are going to happen. Wonderful things. I often also say that women, it doesn't just have to be in your inner circle. There can be external people. I look a lot up to some of the founding women that have come before us and have broken down glass ceilings. You look at Susan B. Anthony, that created amendments that allowed women to vote. You think about things back then and how far we come and where we're going. I'm just so proud, right? And if I can be one of those vessels and just a support along the way and open a bridge, then I've done my purpose. And particularly with military spouses, I just have a special dear in my heart for this, because all spouses have such a servant heart and have followed their active member, and they deserve all the kudos, and they're some of my strongest mentors as well.
Amen. Follow your heart, embrace the truth, and develop great relationships and have great partnerships. Great advice for everyone listening in, Erica. Thank you for sharing. And how do you handle challenges either you face or currently facing?
Well, look, every day is a challenge. I wake up, if you're in this industry, just like you guys are, you wake up and you go, you have a plan, and then it could completely change. You're like, what just happened? It's very important. I myself define myself as positive and energetic, and you've got to have a lot of energy in this industry, right? But you have to have a lot of grace, and you have to have a lot of patience. And being consistent with that, especially when you have employees and you have other leaders you're working for, is critical to being stable in your messaging and in your vision. Yes, challenges are going to happen. You're going to pivot every day. You're going to have to make some tough decisions that you look back and go, gosh, I wish I didn't have to do that. But you have to look at that as a growth. And you have to say, what did I learn from that? I keep a journal. At the end of the day, every day I write down what was significant at that time, what I learned, or what's a follow-up. And it's not a task journal, because there's people out there that check off the tasks. Yes, we've got to do that. But this is a reflection. And I have seen even the way I've reflected over time and my demeanor change. Yeah, I am still positive, but there's becoming this calmness and this trust. You have to empower your team, and you have to trust them, and you have to accept the mistakes, but you also got to communicate that what you learn from those mistakes so that they don't continually happen. So having the grace and forgiveness in that, I think, is probably one of the most critical roles in a leadership position.
I totally agree that grace must be applied, and firstly to yourself, right? Because
Right.
sometimes we're harder to on ourselves than we are on things, and grace definitely has its position in our ability to grow and ability to sustain. Now, there's obviously a change that has come to all of us in one shape or form. Many of us are living that change right now. And so, how do you strategize around moments that require you to change?
you know, it begins with having a really good support system and really good partners, right? You have to trust in that ability. We are purpose driven, so we do lead with our heart. Now, we're a business, just like many other businesses are here. And you do have to make profit. We have to make profit to make sure that we have the benefits that we provide our employees. I'm happy to share that when we built our company, we built it with the intent to make sure that the benefits we provide were 100% medical, vision, dental, 401k. I wanted to be a competitive business that when they had a choice to look at all the big Fortune 100 companies and coming from a Fortune 200 company, that they looked at us with those same opportunities and credentials, but also difference in that we're very diverse and inclusive. There's not going to be boundaries. If you have the skill sets and you want to grow and you want those extra credentials, we're going to give you that roadmap. So trusting in that ability and staying very true to your values is probably the most important thing to the success of your business. The disciplines are going to change. We have grown, like I said, most recently into the design aspect of business, into really growing our project management, our PMO office. But the values, those remain the same. And having that open dialogue with your partners, right? Because even though I'm the CEO, I'm the majority owner, I respect and I trust my partners. If there's something that just doesn't seem right, even though I might want to go full force on it, I have to pause and respect that. And we have to talk through that. So being very authentic in who you are, staying true to your values, I think those are the things that have kept us going in the path that we're going.
Erica, you said great pearls of wisdom throughout this whole journey, this conversation. We can go on, but our audience are pretty much want to know, how do they get a hold of you or be part of your great company growth, AVIVV?
Well, I would say we're pretty good. We're active now on social media. I think one thing the pandemic has taught us is that you've got to be involved in many different avenues. We're active on LinkedIn. It's a professional network. I would ask them to please follow our page, AVIVV. We post, we talk about where we're going, what we're doing. We have job openings. Even though we have a headquarter in Southern California, we also have an office in New Jersey. We just opened an office in Texas. That's my hometown. So I'm happy to get back there to Texas as well, in Houston and Dallas. And we are looking to grow. If there is an interest to be in this utility and energy space and you want to be involved in it, please reach out to us. Our website is www.avivv.com. Very simple. We respond through LinkedIn. I get messages on LinkedIn and people go, a lot of time we send messages and people don't respond. You take the time to reach out to me. I'm going to take the time to respond. Even if it's not a fit, you just have to respect people and their time. And I respect you both and your time. And I want to just, first of all, thank you and what you're doing for our community. I want to encourage this podcast to continue to do these, and I'm happy to share and introduce other partners, even if it's not a fit with me. Hey, we're in this together, and there's a lot of work to go around. So let's team up.
Wonderful. And folks, we're going to have that information as part of the show notes and video so you can get a hold of AVIVV. Erica, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all you did. Folks, if you want to get a hold of the Leadership Void podcast, the leadershipvoid@gmail.com is where you'll send that information and request anything you would like to see on the leadership front, or maybe a guest you would like to see on the show. But today it's all about Erica, and we thank her for this day.
And I will add also a couple of things going on. We have this subscription drive that if you hit our YouTube channel, The Leadership Void, you enter the drawing to win this wonderful book, Standing O, the Salute Edition by Scott McGregor. It is autographed, a great book, Lessons in Gratitude. We also do radio check every 1st and the 15th of every month at 1900, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to check on our first responders, our military community. Please join us there. This episode and others wouldn't be possible without the home team of Round Point Service Mortgage Corporation, our sponsor. And continuing on with his legacy of great guests, we will do this next week with another great guest. But today we honored with Erica Beal, Women's History Month, a great CEO of AVIVV. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you all. And I just want to say, this isn't an Erica Beal show. This is an AVIVV. This is all about our team, our employees. They are the true advocates. They're out there on the workforce. I just want to be here to help them succeed. So thank you to my team. Thank you to the leaders. Thank you, Carl Miller, Brian Gibson, Peter Wahunsky, and most importantly, my husband, Jeremy Beal. So thank you.